Right, you are live with BBC News. Next, going to go to the US, and President Biden has approved the construction of a section of border wall in southern Texas in an effort to stop illegal immigration. Around 32 kilometres will be built in Starr County, which is on the border with Mexico. Now, there's been more than 245,000 crossings in the area this year, with September expected to be a record month. But the move is a major U-turn by the president, who criticised his predecessor, Donald Trump, for making the wall such a key policy. Well, it comes as top White House officials are actually in Mexico as the two neighbours attempt to ease tensions at the border. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the Attorney General Merrick Garland were hoping to tackle the issue of drug trafficking, illegal migration. But the Mexican, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, is not happy about the wall, saying he believes the White House had come under pressure from extreme right-wing groups.
Voy a hablar del tema de esta propuesta.
I'm going to talk about a proposal that was released yesterday
para permitir la construcción
to allow the construction of a wall on the border, which is contrary to what President Biden has said. Authorizing the construction of a wall is a setback. It does not solve.
Well, the US Secretary of State attempted to get things back on track, speaking about what the two nations had in common.
We're proceeding based on a sense of shared responsibility, cooperation, collaboration, mutual respect. This framework reflects our nation's shared interest and shared responsibility in addressing crime, violence, trafficking. It also underscores a shared understanding that we have that while policing and border enforcement are absolutely critical tools, they alone cannot address the complex drivers of our security challenges.
Right, let's go to Mexico City now. We can speak to journalist James Frederick. Thanks very much for coming on the programme.
Thanks for having me.
So what do you make of these high-level visits so far?
Well, I think these are primarily political moves. There hasn't been any announcement yet, save for Biden announcing border construction, which is separate to all of this. There hasn't been any announcements of a major change of U.S.-Mexico relations or policy, but I do think there's a real political element to this. Both the United States and Mexico have presidential elections next year. Both the Democrats in the United States and the Morena party in Mexico want to keep a hold on power next year. And I think there's an incentive for both to say, we're working together, we can make progress. These are big problems, but we're working together to solve them.
Okay, and let's one quick question on the wall itself and that announcement, because that has caught so many headlines. What has the reaction been?
It depends on who you ask. If you talk to migrant advocates and asylum seeker advocates, there's real disappointment and anger at the Biden administration. He really campaigned on this idea of no walls. The idea of a border wall is really associated with Donald Trump and the Republican Party right now. So from that side, it's seen as a betrayal. There are others who think this is a necessary step to help border crossings. But this is much more of a conservative move to install more border wall. I don't get a sense that conservatives think that, Biden is their man on the border, even when he makes moves like this.
Interesting. Okay, let's look at the wider problem. We've just been looking at the issue in Europe. Of course, the issue of migration is huge. Here, politicians trying to get together and come to some kind of agreement. It is an issue which is huge in scale, clearly. Are we expecting, you said no major announcements so far on any of the issues for that high-level visit. Is there anything we should be listening out for? Can we expect anything concrete at the end of this?
I think it's very interesting to hear the way Blinken is talking about this. You hear so much focus on enforcement and deterrence policies to get migrants not to come. And I think it's interesting to hear him talking about what are other things that we can do. migration has been my main focus based from here in Mexico for almost the last 7 years. And the rhetoric has been the same for about 7 years that, we need to, attack root causes. We need to stop people from coming. And, we're seeing the same things over and over again. There are different problems, different economic and security crises in Central America and South America that drive people north. And I think what we should be looking for is the United States going to continue to invest in alternatives, places that people who are trying to go to the United States can go instead of making this dangerous journey towards the United States? So I think that's what to look for. What are other reasonable alternatives people can have to resettle elsewhere? Mexico, for example, is expected to receive more than 150,000 asylum applications this year. That's a record. So we are seeing that people are considering alternatives to going to the United States.
Interesting. James Frederick, great to have you on. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.